So thank you very much for joining to this training. Let me introduce the topic of today. So it's about achieving excellence and with effective auditing. And why this topic today? Know that, pharmaceutical auditing has a number of challenges, from adhering to strict regulations and quality standards to managing complicated manufacturing and distribution processes. So today, our experts will share valuable insights and best practices on auditing standards. And they will also focus on key stakeholders and auditor qualifications, and will also perform a role play with 4 practical case studies. Okay. So our experts speakers are Jordi Ferrando and Cesc Muñoz from Qualifyze. Jordi Ferrando is Audits Team Leader and also Qualified Auditor at Qualifyze. He's a chemist with over 10 years of experience in GXP audits and has been responsible for more than 200 audits. And also as the manager of the auditing team at Qualifyze, they specialize also in active pharmaceutical ingredients and excipients, and also support the training of junior auditors. We also have Cesc Muñoz. He's the head of quality and qualified auditor at Qualifyze. He's a pharmacobiological chemist with a strong commitment to quality and also collaborates in different projects. Since 2015, he has conducted about 200 GXP audits, specializing in managing large-scale audits and supporting auditor qualification and training at Qualifyze. Okay, so having said that, I'm pleased to introduce our guest experts, Jordi and Cesc. Welcome, Jordi and Cesc. It's nice you are here. Thank you very much for being here today.
Hello, Angel, and thanks for this very nice introduction, and also thank you, Scilife, for having us. It's been a while since we've been working together, and yeah, it always comes out nice, and we hope to be up to the expectation today and help your followers in improving the way they approach audits, and hopefully this will make the industry safer for everyone and better for everyone. That's one of our goals here at Qualifyze, and this is something that we share with Scilife. So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for joining the session. As Angela and Andrea have been explaining, you can let us know your questions in the specific area there, and we'll try to address all of them. Here's what we will be covering today. So as an introduction, we'll be speaking about the stakeholders in the pharmaceutical supply chain, and then a brief discussion about the most frequently used auditing standards. Will come from a mostly European framework and approach, but we'll also be discussing other specifics. Then we'll talk about what makes a good auditor. So what's the qualification that we should look for and the skill set. Then we'll dive into the preparation of an audit. You all know that the time during audits is limited and you need good preparation. So we'll talk about the key aspects of preparation for audits that we have identified. And then we've selected 5 examples from audits that we've conducted, and we'll do this case study so that you can also participate. We expect you to participate using the polls that we have configured, and we would like to hear your voice, because then we can build knowledge between everyone here. And then we'll have, like Angel said, space to answer all of your questions. So without further ado, I will start with the first topic, which is the stakeholders in the pharma supply chain. We use this map a lot because it's very easy, since medicines are so easy to find anywhere we go, and we're so used to them. It's easy to lose track about the complex supply chain, about the complex interactions between different stakeholders that lead medicines into our doors, right? So we always want to start with this, so that you know all the different agents that are at play. We can go back to the manufacturers of key starting materials, so you can think of those as basic chemistry plants, mostly abroad. They're doing the initial steps where GMP actually starts, and then all the way to the manufacturing of final APIs then manufacturing of excipients, also in separate facilities, packaging materials, all of that. Then all of that comes together to combine into the medicinal product or the medical devices. Then everything has to be distributed to get to our hands, right? So all of the actors here on this page are subjected to be audited. And it's not only that we have to audit them, so we have the regulators expecting marketing authorization holders to audit their suppliers. That's a requirement, but it also gives us this excellence, right? So the topic of the session today is achieving excellence. We can also get valuable information to make sure that we are using the best in class, that we're using top suppliers and service providers in our supply chains, and making our products more safe and better. Okay, so you can see here the little arrows, and most of them are getting something from someone else, right? So the relationships are complicated, they're complex, they're globalized. So this is why we think that a good approach to auditing will make this map a little less complicated and a little more secure. Now I'm going to hand over to Jordi.
Okay, thank you, Cesc. Okay, so in this slide, we will talk a little bit about auditing and standards. So in this table, we can distinguish like three main columns that it's the different phases a medicine can go through, okay? Obviously, the most regulated phase is the one corresponding to the products that are already on the market, and all its components, also materials and service involved in this phase, okay? So we can observe the preclinical phase, the clinical phase, and also the drug marketing or pharmacovigilance, okay? We will not go into detail because we have limited time today, but some of these examples, for example, API, are region specific. We can see here the EU GMP or GDP for Europe, or we can go to the 21 CFR for the US, for example. And also there are other international standards like ISO standards, like ICH standards, and also other industry-derived standards like IPEC for excipients, or also the APIC for starting materials, for example. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay. We will talk about also in this session, as Cesc already mentioned in the summary, about auditor qualification and skill set. This is a really important topic that we were asked for, and we think that it's really important about auditor skills and their application in audits, okay? So in this slide, we have compiled a list of critical attributes. Some of them are more obvious, but maybe other ones are less evident, but all of them are equally important, okay? And I would say that we would all agree that auditors must have the following attributes or skill sets, okay? Also, if you want to type any skill set that maybe it's not summarized in this slide, you can use the chat anytime, so the session can be a bit more interactive. So feel free to use the chat at any time, okay? Okay, I will go to the first one, that is industry knowledge, and this means like a deep understanding of both general industry practices and also specific domain knowledge. And this will trigger a specialization in certain areas in most cases, okay? The second one, point here is the auditing expertise and experience. And you usually you initiate with theoretical trainings, and then you follow by hands-on experience by doing more and more audits, okay? And the third one that we have summarized here is the proactive and continuous learning. And this is really essential to stay up to date with the industry regulations, updates, and evolving in this best practice or common practice. Okay, this is really, really important. But however, these fundamentals, the two additional factors are really key to become a proficient auditor. okay? And here we can see a long list of personal behavioral attributes. Some of them are stated in the ISO 19011, okay? And this ISO states that an auditor should be ethical, impartial, sincere, honest, and discreet, okay? I think that we all agree on that, but also we can add here that to be open-minded, okay, to be diplomatic, tactful when communicating, especially if we've observed any deviations or anything that we maybe detect a risk there. So to be diplomatic and tactful when we state that. Okay, also really important to be observant and perceptive. We also say in all the trainings that we perform that we don't want to miss the elephant in the room, okay? It's really important. Maybe it's the first time, usually it's the first time that we go to a site, maybe it's second time, but we were there like 2-3 years ago. Maybe we don't remember exactly how the site was distributed, and maybe we go to a workshop and we can see a lot of equipment, a lot of things, and it's important to not miss the elephant in the room, as already mentioned, okay? Also be disciplined, also be versatile, tenacious, decisive. If we find something that we don't like, we communicate it tactfully, as we already mentioned, but be decisive and self-confident about you have observed, okay? Be assertive and collaborative. Also, what's really important is open to improvement and open to cultural differences that we can be between us, okay? So in addition to these attributes, there is a set also of interpersonal skills. Often we refer as soft skills, and these are really, really important. Some of them are the ability to create, for example, an environment of trust and reliability, and this is really key it's really key of one of the personal behaviors attributes that we were just mentioning, and this will help on doing any audit, okay? Then leadership, meaning that taking the lead when necessary and inspiring confidence in other people that's with us in the audit. Also really important, effective planning and organization for the maximum efficiency during the audit. Also time management, it's related. We all know that auditing is challenging, especially if we only have one day. And we need to make sure that we utilize efficiently all the time and resources that we have, okay? Then effective communication, we already mentioned that, and also the question formulation and rephrasing when necessary, and it is equally important to ensure clarity and understanding, okay? So these qualities collectively define a competent auditor, okay? That will not only possess technical expertise, but also excels in the art of interpersonal relationships, okay? So I will hang on, Cesc.
In any case, having all of this, and let's pretend we find the Superman or Superwoman who ticks all the boxes in this slide that Jordi was presenting, that's not it, right? So it's not like a job that you do once and you have all the background, all the experience, and all the skills. I would say this is only half of the puzzle of what makes a good auditor. And it's already mentioned there, but I wanted to dive a bit deeper into this topic. We need to make sure that we're always looking out to what's happening, right? Staying up to date. And perhaps this is one of the reasons why we always say that good auditors make good consultants, and the other way around. Good consultants can also make good auditors because they're always in first-hand touch with what's going on in the industry, right? So they can keep their eyes open to new technologies, new processes, new ways of doing things, but also new shortcuts. No, you know what if you're receiving audits yourself, for instance, you know how to avoid some of the auditor's questions, and then you can incorporate that into knowing where can people take some shortcuts or where can new risks be generated, right? So if you keep an open mind and you are informed about what's going on in the world, you always one step ahead. It's always interesting to know what the industry as a whole is concerned with, and also what the authorities are focused on, right? So if you know, let's say the FDA, they publish their inspections, or you can also find the inspections from the European authorities, and you know where the problems are being found, you know that's concerning the industry, and that's concerning the regulator. So it's a good thing to keep up to mind, to date. However, we know that we're living times when it's very easy to get caught up in this sea of information, and especially this contaminated sea of misinformation. And sometimes it's difficult to distill the key takeaways. And most important, it's complicated to connect these takeaways or these pieces of information with situations that may arise during an audit and that may actually make a difference when you're performing an audit. So there are several efforts out there. We're presenting here on the screen, and we will not touch on every point here on the slides, just to give you an idea that there are some efforts out there. Qualifyze is doing this audit-related regulatory news updates that we're sending out to our auditors to make sure that they know what's coming, for they to know what's happening, what changes in regulations are happening. I'm also sure that Scilife is publishing some of these changes in their social media. So it's important to surround yourself with experts and to talk shop. I know we always like to talk about our weekends, and we like to talk about nice projects that we have, but it's great to be in collaboration, in close collaboration with other experts, not to see each other as competition, but to actually be able to learn from what they're encountering. I think this is one of the things that is making Qualifyze successful, the fact that we're conducting around 120 audits every month, and we're learning from each one of them. And we're sharing this knowledge between our internal auditors, and this is helping us be up to date and know where to look. And this is always saving us time during the audit. You know exactly what concepts you will be surprised or you'll be looking for, and when you don't find them, then you know there's an interesting thread to pull there during the audits. And one of the things that we are also seeing emerge, and we're actually trying to push the boundaries here as Qualifyze, is gathering all the information from the audits. Not so long ago, probably, audits were made because the regulators need them, right? So you get an audit, you write a report, you put that on a shelf, and then you forget about it. What we're trying to build here, and this also helps in staying up to date and getting more information, is gathering the data from these audits. So if you find a way or a partner that you can get parts of the information that you're getting from the audits and probably analyze it and probably group it and probably see the trends in the industry, that already gives you a good step ahead in being up to date and prepared. In the end, it's finding this excellence through audits, but not audits that sit on a shelf until the authorities come to inspect your facilities, but actually getting insights from what's going on in the industry and from what you're generating yourself. Right? So this is an important topic. And now we're going to change to the next topic with Jordi.
Okay, so we have talked about skill sets, we have it ready. Cesc has talked about how to be up to date. Okay, we got this. Okay, what's next? What to do, or how we prepare, or what we recommend to perform an effective audit. Okay, so there are several items that we recommend to be prepared some weeks before the audit. Okay, this can help us to have an idea of what can be the most important topics to be asked or focused during the audit. Okay, and the most important things that we recommend to prepare before the audit, for example, the first one would be the audit agenda. Okay, what this agenda will consist or will help us on. So this document will help us, and also the auditee, to establish, for example, an effective schedule to cover all the important topics that we want to cover during the audit. Okay, it is important also to check with the auditee the start and the end time of the audit. Okay, we recommend to adapt the time frame of the audit to the office hours, okay, of the personnel that is receiving us during the audit. However, this can be discussed with them, okay, if we need some extra time. But we extremely suggest to be punctual, especially at the end of the audit, okay? We can also make a list in this agenda of all the documents that we want to be received before or during the audit, and all the documents that maybe will be requested during auditing, okay? What else we recommend here? We strongly recommend to check the health authorities database to ensure that a current certificate is available within the site, okay? It's good to check if the certificate is still valid and if the product or service that this auditee provides is included in the certificate, okay? And also, we strongly recommend to check if there is any warning letter available for this auditee, okay? Then the next step or the next recommendation would be to send the agenda or making the first communication with the auditee. And this is good to request a planned layout to see the dimensions of the site that we are going to, okay? So also it is good to ask if the products are manufactured in the same workshops, so we can start just before the audit to make assessments on which areas we can focus or we will more focus during the audit, or other areas that maybe are not that critical and maybe won't be seen as exhaustive as other areas, okay? We also recommend to request some documents to better prepare the audit before getting there, and we usually recommend to request PQR, site master files, flowcharts of the products, also plant layouts, as we already mentioned, and other documents, okay? And last but not least, we also recommend checking official compendials like EP, USP, Japanese Pharmacopoeia, for example, to compare the certificate of analysis or also the specification with the official compendia.
Now we get to the point that we want to give more attention to, and where we think we can give you something. I'm sure many of you in the audience have been doing audits or have been receiving audits, so you will probably already know what they look like. But we've selected some examples, like I've said, and I'm very proud to say we're conducting a lot of audits every month. It's around 120 audits, and we've been doing though for several years. So by the end of June, we will reach our 3,000 audit. So we have a lot of material to choose from, and the way with that we're approaching the audits also makes it easy to identify trends, to identify, for instance, points in the regulations or in the guidelines that are repeated in many observations. So we've selected some examples, and we'll try to do this role play between Jordi and I, because you don't find the findings, or you don't find the observations in the audit on the wall waiting for you to find them or to uncover them. The way that you are guiding the questions, the way that you're leading the audit, Jordi was mentioning the skill of leadership from an auditor. So the way that you are binding the questions together, following threads, and digging into the relevant topics is what actually gets you to uncover some situations, and we'll try to play this in the case studies. The way that we will do it is we'll first present the scenario, so it's like a narrator will tell you where this is happening. We will then do part of the role play. We'll present a situation, and we'll present a poll for you to be able to participate. You're welcome to select one of the options in that we have thought in advance, but you're also welcome to participate in the chat if you think that there's something else that you would like to add. And then we will finish each one of the cases by getting to a conclusion about the risks and about observations, right? So let's get on to it. For the first case, we are in a manufacturer of finished dosage forms, and this company is also responsible for the storage and testing of stability samples. Right? So during the tour, we went and visited the stability chambers. We saw the temperature controls and all that. But then in the afternoon session, where we're reviewing documentation, we get an example from an out of specification result that was detected during stability studies, right? So this is the scenario. I will be playing the role of the auditor, and Jordi here will be the person in charge from the supplier. So I would start by saying, let's select one example from an OOS, and let's check this one. My first question is, when was this out of specification recorded?
Okay, let me check. Okay, this was recorded on June 16th.
June 16th. Okay, so I take a note of that. And can you tell me what the OOS refers to?
Yeah, okay. This refers on May 22nd. It was detected, okay, that the 60-month sample for the ongoing stability study that is performed at 25 degrees, 60% relative humidity had an unspecified impurity, okay, with a concentration of 3.8%, okay, where the specification should be below 0.5%, okay? So as a consequence, the result for the total impurities was also an OS because it was a 3.8 against a specification of below 1%.
Okay. And then can you show me the investigation? What was recorded during the investigation for this out of specification?
Okay, here is the documentation, okay, including also the chromatogram and also the results for the affected sample and results for other batches analyzed in the same sequence and other stability points of the same batch. Yeah, you can see that they are all within the specifications.
Indication here. What else did you do during the investigation?
Okay, we use during any AOS investigation, we use checklists to review several aspects, trying to find out the root cause, okay? And including general topics like training, analytical method check, regions and solutions, instruments and calibration, and also other aspects specific to the method, like flows, column, instrument incidents, peak integration, response factors, and also the sequence itself.
Wow, these checklists are very thorough, and I see that you're checking many aspects. Did you find anything with this checklist for this case?
No, not in this case. All the checks were correct, and no root cause could be identified at this point.
Then what do you do? What happened in this case?
So, as stated in the SOP, we moved into the second stage of the investigation, where we reviewed historical results and tried to come up with hypotheses which we evaluated. For instance, we tested potential contaminants, like other substances that we work within in the lab, and to see if they match the retention time of the OS. And nothing came out of the investigation.
So you continued the investigation, or what else happened?
Yeah, we continued the investigation and we repeated the test 6 times with 2 different analysts, okay? They could not replicate the OS result, so therefore we invalidated the original result and the investigation was closed on December the 7th.
December 7th. And what would have happened if the OS had been confirmed at this point? So if you still got the same result?
Yeah, if we got the same result, what we should do is a deviation report would be opened and would be extended to the investigation to other departments.
Okay, so it seems now I'm going to address the audience. I'm going out from the role of the auditor, and I want to give a summary here. You probably have seen this a lot. We're always saying that there is one correct way to deal with out of specifications, and that's mostly almost everyone is using the FDA approach. It talks about these stages that Jordi was presenting. It talks about how you get questions and try to find I'm seeing some interesting things in the chat already. How you get to hypotheses, how you actually test them, how you try to find the root cause. It's not only making sure that the result is correct, but also finding a root cause for why it's not. So this looks like a very typical and very well structured investigation for an out of specification. And it does consider all the possible factors, it tests the hypothesis, and in the end, the happy ending was that the out of specification result that they initially got was rejected, so it couldn't be confirmed. But here we ask you, and I don't know if Andrea can help me with this. What risks do you identify from this case that we are presenting, right? So we present these four options: non-adherence to timelines, communication to authorities and customers, maybe the incorrect steps for out of specification investigation, or maybe poor training for the laboratory staff. So please participate in the poll. And also, if you find something else that's not mentioned in these options, please feel free to add it into the chat. And I'm not sure if I will be able to see the results, but yeah, just let me know.
Yeah, when we end the voting session, just right now we will share the results. Let's wait just
Thank
for
you.
so everybody.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Anjay.
Yeah, now non-adherence to timelines is leading with 50%, more or less. And the second one is communication to authorities and customers with 19%. Is this what you was expecting, Cesc?
I think we've been insisting a lot during the role player in the script that we have about the timelines, right? So and we've also been very specific that this is a stability sample. So this implies that there's medicines in the market.
Let's finish
so yeah, this is
voting and
mostly what it's similar to what we're seeing. So yeah. So yeah, most of the answers are leading there, but I mean, all of them would be valid. So we only wanted to know what would you focus on, because in the end, yeah, we're seeing that coming from Aminat. Thank you. All options are applicable, right? So everything is there. What you need to do as an auditor is very quickly decide what to follow, what thread to follow more, right? So what is bringing the most risk to patient? This is what we're auditing for. So let's see how the situation continued. I will close this window with the poll. Thank you. Thank you for your participation. So let's see how this continues. I'll go back to being the auditor, and I'm asking Jordi, have you defined in your procedure any timelines for the recording and the investigation of auto specifications?
Yeah, indeed. Our SOP states that investigations must be started within 24 hours from the detection of the OS results and completed within 20 working days.
And also, is there anything in the SOP about notifying the marketing authorization holders, or maybe notifying the authorities in case of potential quality defects?
Yeah, the procedure only requires customers to be notified about OS once the investigation is completed, and only if the OS is confirmed.
So as you see in the audience, the most popular opinions were what the auditor here focused on. And we find this new information, right? The result was not confirmed even by 6 repetition, but the investigation was closed in December. So again, we see this observation, right? And during a time, there was a happy ending in the end, because the out of specification could not be confirmed. But for many months, since May until December, there was the potential for contaminated product to be out there in the market, and no one was informed about that. And the investigation took very, very, very long, even contradicting the procedure, right? So this is actually a real observation from an audit that we were in, and this is how we would report it, right? So we give you the topic, the critical aspects of the situation, so the time of detection, the time of recording, even the contradiction with the SOP, then how long it took for the investigation to be closed, and again, how it's contradicting the SOP, and how no one was notified about this situation, creating a very high risk to patients had this been confirmed, right? Probably these these situations could lead to recalls of product from the market because you don't want that to be available to patients, right? So in the end, many things failed here, even though the procedure for OS is well structured and well defined. Many things were done wrong that could have led to risk to patients. Let's move to the second case, and in this case, we're at manufacturer of APIs, right? And one of the topics that we cover is process validation. And so we start by reviewing protocols and sorry, Jordi, I think you're going to present this one. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. I can do that. I will introduce the scenario, and I will be doing the role of auditor in this case number 2. Okay, so as Cesc was mentioning, we were auditing a contract manufacturer of a finished dosage form. Okay, and we were reviewing examples of process validation. Okay, and as you can see here, we observed 3 batches, and for product 2, these batches were considered for the validation. Okay, so I will go for the first question, and would be like, is the process for this API validated?
Of course, the initial validation was done in 2012, but then the process was revalidated in 2016 due to an increase in the batch size and the change in the manufacturing area and the manufacturing equipment.
Okay, so can we check the report for the latest validation that you have?
Here it is. Since you asked for it in the agenda, we already had it prepared. So here you have it, you can check it. And as you see, part of the process validation included the review of the qualification of the equipment. The acceptance criteria defined in the protocol was met, and then the process was finally declared as validated.
Nice. And how do you define how many batches to include in a process validation?
That's defined in our validation master plan. That's here. And it says that at least 3 consecutive batches must be included in the validation. More of them can be included depending on the nature of the process or depending on the specific needs, but at least 3 batches need to be included.
And how many batches, how many and which batches were included in this validation?
So in this case, we went for the classic approach, and we included 3 batches. You can see here in the report, it was batches L500, L502, and L012.
Okay, thank you. So I will go off of the auditor role, and I will question to the audience here. So once again, this is as you can see, a typical approach to process validation. And it is true that the 3-batch approach is outdated, but it is still generally acceptable, especially for a 2016 validation. But I will ask here, do you notice here anything unusual? So please, you can vote to this poll, and let's see the results. Yeah, I agree on that, Marta. Thank you.
To add here, and it also goes with the point that we were discussing about open mind. I think you're on a good track, Marta. Thank you for your answer, but it doesn't necessarily have to be non-consecutive. So it already gives you an indication that they might not be consecutive, but the batch numbering systems for each manufacturer can change. So you're on a good lead there, and we'll see what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I think that the question is on the on screen, right, Angel?
Yes. Okay. Let's end the voting, and then we can share the results right now.
So
okay.
Many of you are following. Yeah.
You can go, Cesc.
No.
The 66% of you have voted non-consecutive batches used for validation. And then the second option most voted was inadequate batch number system. Okay, we were already discussing this within the chat. Okay, we can see what happened after this if you want. We can continue with the role play. Okay. So I will ask, what happened to batch L501?
Okay, so here are the results. Here, yeah, you see the batch was out of specification for content, so it was not considered for the validation. Instead, we already had batch L012, and we included that as part of the 3 batches for the validation, so that we would adhere to our requirement to have 3 batches. But since we had this problem during the validation, we had this extended monitoring of more quality attributes for the commercial batches until we got to L016, just to make sure, we wanted to make sure.
Okay, so can you explain me why the batch number system changed?
So the batch numbers for commercial batches or for all batches, they're identified first with a letter. So it was letter L for 2016. And then we add 3 numbers for the individual batches, right? We start from 0 and then we move on. But for the validation, for them to be easily identified as validation batches, we start with high numbers. So we start from 500 and then from there 501, from 2 and that. That's how we number batches.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if you in the chat will agree with me, but here we have like a series of problems. We already mentioned that the 3 batches used for the validation were not consecutive, and there is one failed batch in between, okay? And moreover, another problem that we can observe here is that we should be concerned about that they had started the manufacturing of at least 4 commercial batches before the process validation had been completed. So this was a real observation that we found during an audit, and this is how we put it in the report, and was like this scenario represented happened similar during the audit. Yeah.
As you already are pointing out, it's a combination of things, right? You need to keep your eyes open to strange things, like you already pointed out in the chat that the numbers did not seem consecutive. And it could be that's just because they number batches funny. But in this case, it was an interesting lead, and they were not adhering to their own internal documentation, but also to what's expected from validations. Let's move quickly to the third case. This is in a laboratory. It's highly automated. They are using several computerized systems to support these testing tasks. And this is the kind of laboratory that we feel comfortable in principle, right? That you're not seeing papers everywhere, that you're seeing that there's some support from electronic systems. So let's start the questions to the laboratory manager. I'll be playing the auditor. So can you tell me what computerized systems you're using in the lab?
Yeah, we have a LIMS system, also a CDS system, and also another system for titrators and another one for balances. Also, we have a laboratory workflow system that is all interfaced to all of them and supports the work of the analysts.
Wow, this is unusual, and it's a high degree of automation. How does this workflow system work?
Yeah, analysts log in using their fingerprints and then can scan the barcode that is both on the sample label and also in the analytical worksheets. Okay, then the system detects the type of the sample and the test that should be done with the specifications, and also it prepares the instrument for the corresponding test. For instance, it already loads the sequences for the chromatographers.
It's very practical indeed. And now I address the audience. We're always talking about how technology and how artificial intelligence or digitalization will take our jobs. And in this case, it seems to be doing a good job here, right? So it already identifies what needs to be done, and it already takes care of that so that we don't have to remember, we don't have to have specifications on paper. So this is very practical. And it would be very easy for the auditor to be mesmerized by this. It's like, oh, so much technology, so much systems, everything is fantastic. At this point, do you identify any risks already that could be affecting this approach? Because one of the easy things that I could do right now is just to write all this down, say everything is done by computer systems, there is no risk, and then move on to the next. That would be a temptation because you're always short on time. So any of this risk that you can identify, or anything else that you would ask the auditee in this case. There are some pretty
Okay, I
standard
can
ones
share
here.
the
Yeah,
preliminary
please.
results. So we have about 60%
Wow.
use of non-validated systems, number one.
Okay.
And then follows second and third. So risk of data loss with 16% and risk of mix-up with 16%. All right. And finally, about 7%, the last one, risk of intentional modification of data. So
We're mostly focusing on validation.
validation.
That's good. That's a good first question to ask. Actually, that'll be my first question. Maybe we can close the voting already. And that'll be my first question since the audience is very wise. I will use what 63% of you said. Have all these systems been validated?
So yeah, we are using industry standard off-the-shelf software, and these are designed to be compliant within the regulations. But we have also done complete validations of each systems and all the interfaces between them.
Okay, so validation is covered. Let's see the next risk that we have identified. How do you make sure that the data is secure?
So data is synced to a cloud concurrently, and everything is backed up. And also recovery tests have been conducted periodically, and data is also protected by means of the fingerprint login.
Fantastic. It's like I cannot find anything, right? It's looked like everything is going well. Good systems are in place. They're using the standards. We wanted to include names here, but we don't want to make promotion to the companies. But let's say they're using top of the line with the systems. Everything seems to be good, but there's still the human factor. And maybe it was lost during the message, but Jordi said that the analyst scan the barcodes on the sample or on the analytical sheets that they're printing, right? So my question here would be, Jordi, would it be possible for the analyst to scan the barcode in one worksheet, but then conduct the test on a different sample?
Well, we hadn't thought about this, but yeah, this could happen. Yeah, for sure.
So again, we wanted to share this situation as a reminder that digitalization and support from computerized system is not a perfect solution if it's not done together with taking care of the human factor. Of course, there is no specific point in the audit standard that we were using here that would cover this specific situation. That's why we reported it as a remark or as a recommendation that there is this risk of mix-up from the way that the process is defined. So this is the case that we wanted to present. I think we have time for one more, and then we go to the questions. That's okay.
Yes, sure. You can go on. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's go for the fourth case, the final one. And as you can see here, we were auditing an API non-sterile manufacturer, okay? And we are in a multi-product clean area. And to enter this area, we need to go through a personal SAS and be fully count, okay? There is a personal and also a material SAS, and inside there is a room where sampling of raw materials and also sampling of finished product can be performed, okay? The sampling is performed by QC personnel with plastic single-use materials, okay? So the first question in this role play would be, is this the area where the sampling takes place?
Yes. Employees need to go through the personnel airlock and then change all the clothes, and then they can access the sampling room.
Okay, so are different pressure grades established in each room?
Yes, so let me check. Yes, the personnel and the materials at SAS must be between 2 and 10 pascals, and then the sampling room between 10 and 14 pascals.
Okay, I understand. So I see that both rooms could be working at 10 pascals and no differential pressure between the rooms would be achieved in this case, right?
Mm, Technically, yes, but we try that always there's a minimum differential pressure between the rooms.
Okay. So my question here to you is, do you think there is an issue here? Which risk do you identify? Let's make the final poll and let's make it quickly and let's see which are the results.
Just for the question there on the chat, it refers to special airlock system. We're not talking about sterile facilities here, it's just a sampling room in a warehouse at an API manufacturer. So of course this would make it way more risky if we're talking about sterility, but no, it's just a standard sampling room.
Okay, so yeah, people is voting. So preliminary results are that cross-contamination risk is leading the voting with 85%.
Okay, so the major concern here for all of you is cross-contamination. Okay, I'm glad that no risk at all has been voted the most. Okay, so let's continue to this case, and the next question for me would be: is this pressure of the rooms recorded in any logbook or any batch record?
Not really. What we do is we record the cleaning of the area. Yeah, when we sample, we do a sampling. When we sample, then we do cleaning, and then we check that the cleaning is done. But when sampling, on the sampling record, we record that the pressures are according to these limits.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but is there the value recorded or only a check?
No, it's just a check. The analysts will, well, the sampling personnel will check that they reviewed the pressure to be within the specifications.
Okay, so no exact values recorded. Okay. So also I have observed that there is no visual sign when you can access the special airlock system or also the sampling rooms. Are the doors interlocked?
That would be nice, but no, the doors are not interlocked.
Okay, so my conclusion here is that this is a clear example that the design of the rooms is not correctly or efficiently done. A minimal differential pressure between the airlock and the sampling room to prevent this cross-contamination is not done, especially if the doors are not interlocked. So the risk, we can say it's higher here. Also, the pressure is not recorded in any document. So this was an observation, and you can find it here, how we stated in the report.
Another case, but I think four is enough. We were a bit too optimistic. We would now like to move to your questions from the audience. I hope this has been educational, that this has awakened your curiosity, and yeah, we're here to take all your questions.
Right, good. So we have 3 minutes, so let's see if we can cover at least 2 questions. We have received a lot of comments during your role playing, which has been very instructional. Probably we have a question about what do risk-based audit mean? This is a question from Muhammad, and is it different from routine audit?
I would say they compete in different leagues. So the two concepts, I would put them in separate boxes, right? So a routine audit is something that you do with a supplier or service provider that you're already working with, and you have a schedule on when to audit them. So it's typically 3 years. That's the frequency that the authorities are doing them. So that's what the industry has taken. So that'd be the routine audit, just making sure how things are going, if they're improving, if they're solving the problems, right? But we would say that all audits should be risk-based. You don't have limited time. We wish we would have a limited time to learn everything about a company and even find what needs to be improved. The reality is that you don't. We normally get 1 day. In some happy cases, we get 2, 3 days, but still it's limited time. So everything should be based on risk. So you identify the procedures that they're following, the processes that they're doing, the intended use of the products, and you identify maybe previous issues and previous problems, and then you base how you're going to structure the audit and the kinds of questions that you will be doing and the kinds of topics that you will be diving into based on risk. You should always do it based on risk. So that's why preparation, as Jordi was mentioning, is key to be well prepared for the audit.
Brilliant. Okay. Let's move on to a minute question regarding the last case study. So Aminat came across a deviation in a facility where the out of specification result in pressure, the out of specification in pressure differential was observed during the pre-flight checks in a compounding facility. Okay, so as an auditor, he's asking, as an auditor in QA, what I am supposed to be concerned with.
To understand this one.
Yeah, this is a question from the chat.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to read it again. So I understand that during the tests before actually running the facility, the pressure differential could not be achieved.
Yeah.
I mean, if you find this during an audit, probably you're looking too deep. So this will probably not pop up during a normal audit. But if you were lucky enough to find it, this is concerning, right? So even just in the design and the installation of the facilities, you're already finding that the facilities are not capable of achieving the design that you've made. And the design is there for a reason, right? So the pressure differential is there to avoid particles from entering from a dirtier area to where you have probably your product is exposed to the environment, probably you have manipulation of dust even inside, and you don't want external particles to enter. So if you're finding this during an audit, you probably look for other examples about actual work being done. And like Jordi was asking, are the actual pressures recorded? Is there maybe an online graphic of how the pressure is behaving and all that? So maybe not focus so much on the past, but if you're the QA responsible of the installation of the facility and the release of the facility for actual work, this for me would be a red light to stop whatever is coming after that and fix this problem. Because if you start with the left foot, as seems to be the case here, you need to find if the design is the correct, if the design of the cascade is what you actually need and can achieve, and if the equipment that you have bought will be sufficient to achieve this design. In the end, like I said in the previous answer, should be all based on risk.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah. Hope the answer helps. And now it's time. I'm afraid we cannot continue. So I appreciate everybody for being here and for your participation in the polls, and also for asking so interesting questions. I want to give special thanks to Jordi and Cesc from Qualifyze for collaborating in this training. Thank you very much. And also remember that we're going to prepare our recap page. This will address the most interesting highlights from this training, and also will cover the questions and the answers, and also those questions that we have not been able to answer today. All right, so thank you very much for being here, and also I hope to see you in the next training sessions from Scilife. Have a nice day and goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.